UFC London, Mobserve Louie versus Leroy Murphy is going to take place this weekend. Overall, I'm going to say about the card, it's trash. Like, I'm sorry. I cannot tell the difference between this fight night and a Cage Warriors card where they're just basically hyping up all the UK guys by giving them absolute bums. Alright, that's basically 70% of these fights. That being said, though, I'm still going to be predicting every single one of these fights, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. Okay, so we have Mullins versus Luana Carolina to start off the night, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who's gonna win. I did zero tape study on this fight. At the end of the day, both of these women, I don't think really are the best in their division. But I'm still going to have to pick a winner here, though. So, here's our trusty quarter. If it lands on heads, I'm going with Mullins. And if it lands on tails, I'm going with Luana Carolina. It landed on tails. I'm going with Luana Carolina. Alright, now moving on. We got Shaniel Dyer versus Ravena Oliveira. Again, another one of these coin flip fights where I honestly don't know who to pick here, alright? Because on the one hand, I could say that, oh, Ravena Oliveira is awful, and she's fighting a UK girl, and the UFC are trying to build up UK talent because this is an event in the UK. But Shaniel Dyer, she got a contract off the Dana White's Contender Series off a loss. And just because you fought in an entertaining way, I don't think it translates to you being the best. Alright, so again, we got our quarter that I accidentally just dropped. Alright, we got our quarter over here. Heads, I'm going with Shaniel Dyer. And tails, I'm going with Ravena Oliveira. It landed on heads. I'm going with Shaniel Dyer. Alright, now moving on, we got Shem versus Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady. I think Shem is going to win this. I don't rate Shem all that highly, but Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady. First off, he hasn't fought in 2 years. He's also been finished by Loic Radzhabov, who I don't rate him all that highly. I know he has a win over Esteban Rivovic back in the day, but outside of that, Loic Radzhabov hasn't really done anything too impressive. I don't know, man. Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady also. It's the style as well. Like, I don't see him being able to just destroy Shamrock on the feet like what Nurullah Aliyev did. Nor do I see him being able to initiate any takedowns and establish any meaningful control time. Shamrock, like, he's good enough at BJJ where someone like Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady is going to face a lot of resistance on the ground. And on the feet, very awkward, but he has a tough chin. He has good teeps and other long-range weapons, and I think that Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady is going to struggle fighting his range over the course of 3 rounds, especially because he's coming off a 2-year layoff. And I think that Shamrock, he had a rocky start against Nurullah Aliyev, but that's Nurullah Aliyev, who is undefeated, who looks to be very promising, who could be a future rank contender in the lightweight division. I don't think Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady is nearly at that level, and I think that Shamrock, using his physicality, will be able to find a way to win this fight. But if Shamrock loses, I'm not going to be too shocked, but based off what I'm seeing, I think that Shamrock is a slightly better fighter than Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady. Rather than flipping a coin, I feel like I gotta go with the person who looks less like MMA Joey. Like, I think that Brando Pericic, although I don't think he's gonna be a ranked contender or anything like promising, he looks more athletically fit than Louie Sutherland. And sure, you could say, oh, Louie Sutherland, he was a really good prospect from the regional scene, and his only loss recently is to Walter Walker. I mean, sure, you could say that, but I feel like there's a big difference between Louie Sutherland that we saw in the regional scene and Louie Sutherland right now, because this guy just bloat maxed 300 pounds, and he looks like he's filming a documentary for My 106 Pound Life. And I think that Louie Sutherland, He was probably on roids, which is probably why his physique just bloated up this much all of a sudden. But I just don't rate Louie Sutherland at all. Whereas Brando Pericic, like, yeah, he hasn't fought anybody good. Yeah, like, he does look shaky at times in terms of the defense. But at the same time, though, Brando Pericic looks like the more athletically fit heavyweight. Whereas Louie Sutherland, like, unless he's on roids, like, there's no muscle definition on this guy. This guy is a UFC heavyweight, ladies and gentlemen. Louie Sutherland here. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Brando Pericic to win this fight. I'm gonna say round 1 knockout. Yeah, I think that using his athleticism and overall slightly better technique, I think that Brando Pericic can get it done and find Louie Sutherland's chin. I don't even think I need to explain this to you guys, but Mantas Kondravicius, I don't even know if I pronounced that right. But yeah, Mantas, he's going to destroy Antonio Trocoli. Alright, this is basically a hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby matchup. Why is Antonio Trocoli still in the UFC? This guy is an absolute bum. Somehow, despite losing 3 fights in a row where he looked like a helpless victim, Antonio Trocoli still finds a way to be on the roster because at one point in his life, he dated Mackenzie Dern. And I feel like, unfortunately for Antonio Trocoli, he's going to get flatlined once again because although I don't really remember watching Mantas fight, he's got a lot of knockouts, and I practically pick anybody to beat Antonio Trocoli who's in the UFC. Alright, Antonio Trocoli should not be in the UFC. He is a professional victim at the end of the day. I would love to see him fight Rafael Sequeira. I feel like that would be a generational fight. You know, put it on the White House card, UFC. You know, considering that you guys like to let us down with absolute mid matchups for the White House card, why not put Antonio Trocoli versus Rafael Sequeira, Battle of the Victims, and the winner gets to keep their job in the UFC. Alright, so I feel like Mantas Kondravicius, he should destroy Antonio Trocoli. If he doesn't finish Antonio Trocoli by the 3rd round, I'm going to be super disappointed in him. But either way, though, Antonio Trocoli is awful. So you got to go with Mantas Kondravicius to knock him out sometime in the 1st or 2nd round of the fight. Moving on, we got Mario Pinto versus Felipe Franco. I think it's pretty obvious who you should go with. Mario Pinto is going to destroy Felipe Franco. I understand that Felipe Franco is athletically fit, which is more than what I could say for guys like Louie Sutherland. That's earlier on this card. But the difference is, Felipe Franco lost to Freddy Vidal on the Contender Series on short notice. And the way he lost that fight was by fatiguing against short notice Freddy Vidal. I cannot pick someone who fatigues to short notice Freddy Vidal to beat Mario Pinto. Mario Pinto is actually really solid, alright? He's not the best at one particular thing, but he has the ability to just mix in the martial arts very well, for a heavyweight at least. The guy can pick his shots. You know, he's not just charging in there with the overhand right like half the heavyweight blobs on the roster. He can also grapple, which most heavyweights in the UFC don't know how to do. So I think that Mario Pinto should make easy work of Felipe Franco. Maybe in the 1st round, Felipe Franco is pretty dangerous. But I've seen Mario Pinto being able to go to the later rounds and find his submissions and finishes in the 2nd and 3rd round. So I think that Mario Pinto, he's going to make his reads in the 1st round. Felipe Franco is going to tire himself out. And then by the 2nd and 3rd round, Mario Pinto should pick things up and find a submission or a ground and pound TKO against Felipe Franco. Now, moving on, we got Nathaniel Wood versus Losene Keita. You know, I'm actually really confused about this fight. Like, I feel like I could go either way with this one. You know, I was leaning Losene Keita because I've seen Nathaniel Wood get dropped a lot of times. Losene Keita does have a lot of power. He's got a lot of hype to his name as well, considering he's a double champ from Octagon. But I don't know. I don't think Losene Keita is gonna knock out Nathaniel Wood that easily. Like, yes, Nathaniel Wood gets dropped a lot in his fights, but he has the ability to recover. And it's not like these bums are just dropping Nathaniel Wood all the time. Like, Jose Miguel Delgado, he has a lot of pop in his shots, and Nathaniel Wood was able to make it to the later rounds of that fight. And while you could say, oh, Losene Keita, he hits different, like, yeah, but he's not folding everybody up. Like, if he was a guy like Ilia Topuria, or not even Ilia Topuria, like, who's like a very good finisher that you would expect to finish in most of their fights. Maybe like a Carlos Prates. Like, I don't know. I just don't see guys getting flatlined every single time Losene Keita hits them. And I think that Losene Keita, yes, he's explosive. Yes, he's powerful. Yes, he has the ability to pick his shots. Yes, he has the ability to pressure. But I don't see him flatlining everybody. Like, he flatlined some guys at Octagon, don't get me wrong. But I also think that those guys are much worse than Nathaniel Wood. And I think that Nathaniel Wood can actually hold himself somewhat to a caliber of Losene Keita on the feet. Especially in the later rounds, because that's where Nathaniel Wood does his best work. Alright, Nathaniel Wood, he's very jittery early on in the fight. But if Losene Keita doesn't knock him out in the first or second round, I think that Nathaniel Wood will slowly build back up. And he'll start to find his shots and pick apart Losene Keita as the fight progresses. So I think that Nathaniel Wood, the first round's going to be very concerning. But as the fight progresses, he's going to have an easier time making his reads and landing the better shots, because I think that he's a more technical fighter than Losene Keita. And Losene Keita, his offense is really explosive, but his striking defense, like, is not the best. Like, he gets hit a lot. He's not Manel Cap-esque where he can just move his head to the side and then come up with counters. Like, Losene Keita, he's explosive, but he's there to be hit as well. And I think that Nathaniel Wood is the level of fighter where he can take advantage of Losene Keita's lack of striking defense. So I'm going to take Nathaniel Wood to win this fight, 29-28 decision. Moving on, we got Mason Jones versus Axel Sola. I'm going with Mason Jones on this one. Axel Sola, he went to a 3-round war with Reese McKee, and sure, it's on short notice, but, like, why are you taking, Reese McKee to the 3rd round? Like, it's not a great look. Now, Mason Jones, he could lose this fight. Alright, Axel Sola, I think, is the sharper boxer, and he could just jab and, leg kick his way through to a 3-round decision. But the difference comes with the grappling, in my opinion. Alright, Mason Jones, yes, he's very plotty on the feet. Yes, he gets hit a lot. But he's very well-rounded. Alright, if he's getting beat up, he knows how to switch up to a takedown. Axel Sola has been taken down a lot in his regional fights in Octagon. And I think that, the last guy he fought, like, again, Reese McKee, he's not exactly the primetime grappler in this division. And I think that Mason Jones does have a definitive grappling advantage. And sure, you could say that, oh, he's not really beating anybody particularly good. But there's a clear difference. I feel like Mason Jones, like, he's very experienced. He got cut from the UFC early on in his career, and he's now signed back after going on a 4-fight win streak at Cage Warriors. I think that Mason Jones will do very well in this fight. Like, maybe in the first round, like, he gets his face jabbed off, but it's not like Axel Sola has the ability to drop you. And that's ultimately the biggest problem here. Alright, the only way Axel Sola is going to win this fight is if he just sticks to the jab and just outboxes Mason Jones for 3 rounds. I don't see that happening. Like, at some point, Mason Jones is going to just take a takedown and then ragdoll you on the ground, because the guy has a brick head chin. All right, like Balaji Oki dropped him, but outside of that, Mason Jones hasn't really taken damage in a lot of his fights, and he hits harder than Axel Sola. Right? Like, I know the boxing technique, you could say, is a little bit cleaner, but not by much. I really don't see an advantage for Axel Sola purely outside of the boxing, and I feel like everywhere else, Mason Jones has the advantage, actually, minus the speed department as well. So, like, maybe it could be a 3-round decision where Axel Sola just uses his footwork and just lands the cleaner shots on Mason Jones. But that's only if this fight goes 3 rounds. And I don't think this fight's going to go 3 rounds because, again, Mason Jones has the ability to finish the fight on the feet, on the ground. He hits hard. He has a lot of submissions throughout his career. He's very well-rounded. And I think that Mason Jones is going to show levels against Axel Sola starting in the 2nd and 3rd round. All right, maybe the 1st round, Mason Jones gets his head jabbed off, but that's typically every single Mason Jones fight. All right, he gets beat up early on, and then as the fight progresses, he'll find his takedowns and proceed to break his opponents. So yeah, Mason Jones, I'm going to pick him to beat Axel Sola. Moving on, we got Kurtis Campbell versus Danny Silva. Again, I'm really confused as to who I should pick in this fight. Because Kurtis Campbell, I do like him. Like, I do think there's a lot of promise to his career. But at the same time, though, he's not fighting the best levels of competition. Now, I can't say Danny Silva's the best featherweight in the UFC, but he's not bad. All right, I don't think Danny Silva's just gonna get body shot TKO'd in the 1st round like most of Kurtis Campbell's opponents. That being said, though, I'm still going to go with Kurtis Campbell, all right? Like, Danny Silva, it's not that he's bad. I just think he's too one-dimensional, all right? He's a very heavy boxing fighter. He has good jiu-jitsu, but he typically never uses it unless he's already on the ground. Like, I've never seen Danny Silva really being able to initiate his own takedowns consistently and hold positions for long periods of time, if not land some ground and pound shots and attempt submission attempts that are actually deep. I think that Kurtis Campbell is overall more well-rounded. Like, again, he's fighting much lower levels of competition. I understand that. But based off what I'm seeing, I really do like Kurtis Campbell's game. He's got a nice teep kick up the middle. I think that Danny Silva is going to have to be wary about that. Danny Silva, on the feet, doesn't defend body kicks that well. So I think that Kurtis Campbell can use his teeps, keep range, and then if Danny Silva tries to press forward and try to make it aggressive and scrappy, then I think Kurtis Campbell can level change, he can clinch, and take down Danny Silva, hold some dominant position, throw a couple of ground and pound strikes, make it a 30-27 fight where Kurtis Campbell just does the cleaner work against Danny Silva. Again, maybe Danny Silva's a little bit too fast for Kurtis Campbell. I think that's the only advantage he has, but unless Danny Silva, unless he really takes it to Kurtis, unless Silva just tease off on him, I don't see Kurtis Campbell really folding, and I think that Kurtis Campbell, over the course of 3 rounds, will be able to pick his shots better than Danny Silva can, because he's got, I think, a lot better, well, at least with the kicking range. I think he's a lot better than Danny Silva, and in the grappling, I think that Kurtis Campbell is more offensive, so I'd give him a slight edge there as well. So yeah, I'm going to pick Kurtis Campbell. Ooh, I don't know if it's going to be by finish. Like, Danny Silva is tough. You know what? I'm going to say by decision. Like, Danny Silva is a lot tougher than the guys that Kurtis Campbell has been finishing in the 1st round. Granted, like, again, like Danny Silva, I don't think he's that much better than Kurtis Campbell's past opponents, but I think there's going to be a clear difference. Kurtis Campbell might face a lot of resistance, but I'm still picking him to get the job done. 30-27, 29-28 via decision. Now, moving on, we got Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan. Yeah, I'm not even going to acknowledge Roman Dolidze. He is absolutely awful, right? Like, Christian Leroy Duncan should win this fight. It's just a matter of how Christian Leroy Duncan's going to win this fight. Because Roman Dolidze, unless you jump into his K-guard for some reason, he has nothing to offer in any single one of his fights. Oh, but what about his 3-fight win streak? Like, look at his 3-fight win streak more closely. All right, it's Marvin Vettori, Kevin Holland with a broken rib, and Anthony Smith. I don't rate any of those wins, and I think that Roman Dolidze is mid. He is so slow. He has a brick chin, fair enough, but I don't see anything special out of Dolidze. He can't get takedowns. He can't strike. He has a lot of thud in his shots, but there's nothing like a setup or anything creative about Roman Dolidze striking. Whereas Christian Leroy Duncan, like, there's a lot of power, there's a lot of explosivity, but he's very dynamic. And I don't see Roman Dolidze being able to ragdoll Christian Leroy Duncan at will, because Roman Dolidze, again, his best work is when he pulls K-guard and someone willingly volunteers to jump into the K-guard. Alright, that's where Roman Dolidze does his best work. If Roman Dolidze can't have the K-guard, then he is completely useless. Alright, that's what I'll say about Roman Dolidze. Christian Leroy Duncan, now, he does have a tendency to just do more than he should. Like, for example, like, he just loves to throw the spinning elbow all the time, and that may work, but Roman Dolidze is very tough, and honestly, I don't think you need to risk failing a spinning elbow, getting your back taken, and then getting taken down in the process by a guy like Roman Dolidze. I feel like Christian Leroy Duncan's basics are good enough to school Roman Dolidze on the feet. I'm gonna say Christian Leroy Duncan by decision. Like, I can see a TKO, but like Roman Dolidze, he's very tough. He is surprisingly durable. So I think that Christian Leroy Duncan, he's going to crack Roman Dolidze with a bunch of powerful shots. But I think Dolidze's going to stay there, be a tough out. I don't think CLD is going to be able to finish Roman Dolidze. But who knows? Like, maybe Roman Dolidze's worse than I thought, which is saying something. But either way, though, Christian Leroy Duncan should easily beat Roman Dolidze over the course of 3 rounds. Yeah, I'm not even going to bother breaking this fight down for you guys. Barenewski is going to cook Austin Lane. Alright, there's no surviving this, Austin Lane. You are getting flatlined and getting paid $12K for that. That's basically the end of Austin Lane right here, ladies and gentlemen. Austin Lane, he's moving down to light heavyweight for some reason. I don't know why you would. You had the opportunity to fight like heavyweight blobs throughout the entire UFC heavyweight division. But no, instead you actually decided to come down to light heavyweight, where people are actually somewhat skilled in mixed martial arts. And you're fighting one of the more dangerous prospects in Barenewski, who is basically going to flatline Austin Lane and send him to the Shadow Realm. I don't see how Austin Lane is going to survive Barenewski. I feel like the speed advantage is going to be so apparent because Austin Lane is very used to fighting heavyweight blobs. And I think the technique is going to be way different as well. Like, Barenewski is a brawler for a light heavyweight, but if I see Barenewski move up to heavyweight, then I feel like he would be a technical maestro compared to those fat slobs. So I think that Barenewski will beat Austin Lane. I'm going to say first round TKO. I don't think that's controversial by any means. I think that Barenewski is going to be a prospect to be on the lookout for. And the UFC knows this, which is why they gave him Austin Lane to fight. Because Austin Lane is basically a free highlight reel to get a cool knockout against. I really do like Sam Patterson, but I think this is too soon. I don't even know why the UFC even booked this fight. Michael Venom Page, he was like a top 10 contender in the middleweight division. Like, do I think he was going to go on a title run? No, like, Chimaev's there and all that, but, like, he's not going to go on a title run at welterweight. Like, Islam Makhachev's also there. Like, pick your poison, MVP. So I feel like middleweight would have been a lot better for him, but for some reason, he moved back down to welterweight. And for some reason, the UFC gave him Sam Patterson, an upcoming talented prospect who, sure, did finish 4 guys in a row, but those guys are absolute scrubs compared to MVP. All right, MVP is going to run circles around Sam Patterson. Literally. Like, this guy is just so much faster than Sam Patterson. And sure, you can say, oh, Patterson does have the grappling, but I've never seen Patterson being able to just shoot a double leg at will and then take them, his opponents down and easily ragdoll them. Which, it could happen. All right, like Ian Gary was able to do it, but like, I don't know. I haven't really seen much of Sam Patterson's grappling yet lately. I just know that he's been able to submit a couple of bums. I wouldn't say MVP's a bum, although his grappling is the weak part of his game. On the feet, especially though, like, I just don't see how Sam Patterson is gonna clip MVP. Alright, MVP is gonna do his typical karate blitz where he's just gonna stand out of range and then initiate like twice every 5 minutes and win the rounds off that. I think that MVP is going to frustrate Sam Patterson. If Sam Patterson starts off with a heavy grappling approach, maybe he'll have a chance, but I think that MVP is just so much faster than Sam Patterson. Like, sure, you could say that, oh, MVP is like 38 years old, but I don't think age has really affected him so far, so I can't really say that, oh, now that he's 38, he's going to be washed all of a sudden. So I feel like MVP, he's just going to do his typical thing, stand out of range, do his bouncy karate blitz stance, and then just blitz in with a 1-2 every minute or so, and then go back into range. Sam Patterson's just going to try and initiate, but then he's going to be scared to walk into the void. And I think that, unless he shoots a takedown, unless he shoots multiple takedowns, actually, I think that Sam Patterson is going to have a hard time trying to find Michael Venom Page. So I'm going to go with MVP to win this fight. I'm going to say 29-28 decision. Like, maybe Sam Patterson is able to hold MVP down for a round. But MVP's, like, submission defense, I don't think is bad. Alright, so I feel like Sam Patterson, unfortunately, he's going to lose this fight. And honestly, though, like, the UFC, they're just doing a poor job at matching up fights up, because I don't think most prospects would beat Michael Venom Page. I feel like Michael Venom Page should have got his own title run and then started being a gatekeeper, but unfortunately, like, the UFC does stupid things, and they matched Michael Venom Page up with Sam Patterson. Oh my days, Luke Riley's the next Cage Warriors champion here, folks. He's gonna go on and become the next Paddy Pimblett in the UFC. Yeah, I'm going with Luke Riley in this one, though. Now, I will say, though, I don't think that Luke Riley is going to be a ranked contender in the featherweight division anytime soon. But he is pretty good. Like, the grappling is very concerning, but on the feet, he builds up into fights. He has a lot of power in his hands. He hits with a lot of volume as well, which is another great bonus. And I don't think that Michael Aswell Jr. is all that good. Like, yes, he's coming out that win over Lucas Almeida. It's Lucas Almeida. Welcome to the club. Everybody has beaten Lucas Almeida. And I feel like outside of that win, Michael Aswell hasn't really done anything. He lost the close decision to Balaji Oki. Why are you losing to a decision with Balaji Oki? I don't know. I just don't feel like Michael Aswell Jr. is all that. Alright, like, if he can't just take you down and ragdoll you, which, sure, you could say, oh, Luke Riley's grappling is concerning, but I don't see him getting finished in this fight. I really don't. I feel like, especially as the fight progresses, we know that Michael Aswell Jr. also tires down because Balaji Oki, of all people, was able to win the later rounds of their fight. I feel like Luke Riley will build in and start teeing off on Michael Aswell Jr. And we know that Luke Riley, although he has questionable grappling, like, again, his knockout power is legit. And I think that Luke Riley is going to find a knockout over Michael Aswell Jr. sometime in the second or third round. I do expect Luke Riley to face some resistance, though, because I don't think he's the greatest prospect that we've ever seen. But unfortunately, because Michael Aswell Jr., his only win in the UFC against Lucas Almeida, and outside of that, he's been consistently losing in every single one of his fights, I don't think that he's all that, and I think that Luke Riley should beat Michael Aswell Jr. by KO within the second round. Alright, now moving on, we got Movsar versus Leroy Murphy for the main event. Now listen, I did consider picking Leroy Murphy to win this fight. I really did, because, Movsar, he's never been a 5-rounder, and he has no finishing capabilities, and he's boring as fuck, and his fans overrate him, alright? Those things are objectively true, yes. But I still think Evloev's really good, and I think he's a lot better than the guys that Leroy Murphy's fought. The problem here is that, first off, Leroy Murphy, his takedown defense is very questionable. And the last thing you need against a guy like Movsar is questionable takedown defense. And the other thing is, yes, he's getting a KO over Aaron Pico. Yes, he has a knee up the middle that he can fire at times. But in between all that, he ain't doing all that much. All right, he outside of that, he's just like prancing around on the back foot, moving laterally, not really throwing that many shots that are damaging. And I think that someone like Movsar, who fair enough also has no finishing capabilities, even less so than Leroy Murphy, I feel like Evloev doesn't have to fear much in this situation, and he's just going to take down Leroy Murphy, smudge him against the canvas, and overall making a very grimy fight over the course of 5 rounds. I do hope that Leroy Murphy wins. Again, Movsar, his fans overrate him. He is boring. All right, just because you're getting saved by the bell by Mark Goddard doesn't make you an entertaining fighter. And I feel like Movsar, he will lose to Volkanovski. I do believe that. But I do think that he's very good, regardless, though. Like, he would beat Diego Lopez convincingly. I'm very convinced of that. He could also beat John Silva, in my opinion. Like, maybe. I'm not entirely sure about that fight. But either way, though, Evloev is the definitive #1 contender for a reason. Yes, he hasn't fought in a while, but still, though, I feel like after this fight, I don't think there should be denying Movsar for the next title shot, because at that point, it's kind of getting ridiculous. But yeah, I think that Evloev, he's gonna take down Leroy Murphy a lot, and even on the feet, where you would think that Leroy Murphy has a big advantage, Movsar's boxing is deceptively good. You know, he's got a very sneaky good jab, and his head movement's not bad at all. And I think that Evloev will just pressure Leroy Murphy against the cage for way too long. And I think for at least 3 rounds, they're going to be against the canvas. If not, Evloev just teeing off on him with like a bunch of noogie shots. Again, not going to be entertaining to say the least, but I think that Movsar is going to win this fight. I do hope that Leroy Murphy wins. I hope that he's spinning elbows Movsar to the Shadow Realm. But I don't think Movsar's Aaron Pico. I think that Evloev has a durable chin. Again, he's 19-0 for a reason, and I think that Evloev will be able to find a way to win this fight. I'm going to say 48-47 decision. It is interesting, though, that I do think that Leroy Murphy will do better as the fight progresses. But if he's not getting a KO in the 2nd or 3rd round, like, I don't see it happening in the 4th or 5th. Like, that's typically not what Leroy Murphy does. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Movsar to win this fight. 48-47 decision. Like, he'll do well in the early and middle parts of the fight. At the end, he might start slowing down and Leroy Murphy's starting to come back. But I think that Movsar is going to do enough to separate himself from Leroy Murphy and win this fight via decision. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can monetize this channel. But outside of that, leave any comments down below how you guys feel about UFC London, as well as who you guys have winning all of the important fights. But yeah, otherwise, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.